Volvo doesn't advertise this little fact about the Volvo EX30, but in Volvo's almost 100-year history, they've never made a car that accelerates this quickly. Maybe that's just Volvo style. Maybe it's more about recycled materials, the Scandinavian ambiance, but they basically buried the lead with this car. This thing goes 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. And I'm going to bury the lead too by talking about driving experience later. Let's start with the new styling of Volvo's EVs. The EX30, it looks like a downscaled EX90. The Thor's hammer headlights, which have been reimagined in this matrix style, which works really well with the sequential light up pattern that greets you as you approach the vehicle. The front end design is just like any other EVs, very aerodynamic. There's minimal openings and very few details. The Volvo iron mark is still there, and inside there's a front camera that's well integrated into the symbol. The painted sections is broken up by some gloss black material and some textured plastic. The pattern gives it that sporty R design look like other racy looking Volvos. The paint is moss yellow, probably the most interesting color for the EX30's entire color palette. I wouldn't be surprised if they'll keep this color only for the model year launch, possibly making this the rarest color you'll find for the EX30. They've done that before on the Volvo V70R and the S60R. The roof is blacked out, so you get a two-tone look. In fact, all EX30s get a two-tone look, except for black, of course. The wheels are 19 inches in diameter. This is a 5-spoke design, and this is a pretty typical EV wheel design where there's very minimal openings to lower the coefficient of drag around the vehicle. The charging port is on the driver's side, and as you can see, this is still the CCS connection, so you have your J1772 plug and then your DC pins, but they'll also sell you the NACS adapter so that you could hook up to Tesla superchargers. And at the back, very attractive presentation. The taillights will do an animation as you approach the car from a distance, just like the front. So do you like the look of the EX30? What do you think of this paint? Inside, the EX30 takes a more Tesla-like approach with the lone infotainment screen to display everything you need. So if you're considering ditching Tesla cars, this is probably a more familiar experience compared to other cars. Personally, I do not like this design because it takes your attention away from the road and you just have to constantly glance over to the right-hand side where your speedometer, all of your status lights, and even your turn signals, if you have it on, it'll pop up right there. You can say that this is a more minimalist design, but it is definitely a cost-cutting move. There's just fewer parts, fewer materials, so it is in line with their eco-conscious approach. The center screen is measured 12.3 inches diagonally. It uses Google built in, so the Google Assistant, the apps, they work really well here. And there's also Apple CarPlay, and that's handled wirelessly. The screen is segmented into a couple of sections. The top shows your gear selection and your speedometer and also any sort of car status you may have. The middle is your main content area, so your Apple CarPlay will only take up this portion of the screen. And in this lower section here, you have your contextual buttons. So this is your assistant, and some of these buttons may change depending on what's happening. So for example, these three on the right-hand side here, chances are that's going to stay the same most of the time. So this is your 360-degree camera view, and then your max defroster function, and then also your glove box button. So there's no physical buttons in the center console here. And what's nice about that glove box is that since it's handled electronically, you could also assign a pin to lock your glove box. And then down below, this is always there. It's persistent. These are kind of like your fixed functions. So you have your home button, your apps. This is your volume dial control or volume slider. This part's kind of annoying. And then you have your seat comfort functions, your climate control, and also your fan speed. And then you have your car settings and your hazard lights. Now, navigating through all of these functions might be a little bit frustrating, but there is also a voice assistant that you can use. So for example, if I want to just turn off the air conditioner, I can just say, turn off the air conditioner.
Got it. Turning off the AC.
Turn on the hazard lights.
Sorry, I can't control that in this car.
So some things cannot be controlled, but some things can. Straight ahead, this car could benefit immensely from a heads-up display. The steering wheel is on the small side, but there's enough features here to control some of the critical functions. There is a programmable button here that can be either set to one-pedal driving switch or something else. And then you'll notice that there's no start-stop button in here at all, just like the Polestar 2, just like Tesla's. And that's the thing about EVs, they don't require you to do that routine because there's no engine to start. So if you're jumping from an internal combustion engine car, This is something that'll take a bit of time to get used to. So for this EX30, you just jump in, put your foot on the brake, put it in gear, and you just go. As for the rest of the interior, there's a lot of recycled materials in here, recycled polyester and PET materials. The seats are made of this wool blend. It feels sort of like cloth, but it does feel very nice. The EX30 is on the smaller side, so they've had to do some clever things with storage. For example, the cup holders are completely hidden. And I also like that you could slide this top cover away so that this could serve as something else completely. And you could also slide it once to just expose one cup holder or just fully recess it. And then there's a false floor down here. You could also open that up. And this sort of acts like a hidden storage if you want to. You can see there's 2 USB-C chargers there, and then there's a wireless charger up here. And I like that there's some rubber grippers here so that you could slot your phone in and that'll hold on to it when you're driving. There are a couple of design decisions that I'm not too happy about, and this is one of those automotive trends that need to go away. But the 2 window switches here, there are 4 windows in this car, and just like Volkswagen, they've introduced a rear toggle so that if you want to lower the rear window, you have to press that switch first, and then you could toggle the rear windows down. That is frustrating, and it seems like they're doing it for the sake of cutting costs and also saving a few parts. But in their defense, and also in Volkswagen's defense, how often do you really need to roll down the rear window from the driver's perspective? As for the back seats, the legroom is on the tighter side. 32.3 inches of rear legroom, and there's 38.3 inches of rear headroom. And we have a fixed glass roof here. This is another annoying automotive trend that needs to go away. Now, while the roof is beautiful, I love seeing the amount of sunlight in here. And this is probably great for those Scandinavian, Swedish winter solstice nights when there's barely any hours of sunlight. But here in the United States, we do get a lot of sun and we do want some shade from it every once in a while. But there's no built-in shutters for this fixed glass roof. There are in some other cars, but not in here, not in the Volvo C40. They will sell you a $200 insert that matches the interior, and you could install it and you could stow it away when you don't need it. But why not just include that in the car? Making that into an extra charge is just adding insult to injury, and it's further proof that they are aggressively cutting the costs of this car. As for cargo space, to open up the rear hatch, there's a small button right there, and that exposes 12.4 cubic feet of space behind the second row. To fold the second row, you have to access it from the second row itself. And once you fold that down, that exposes 31.9 cubic feet of space behind the first row. So overall, not too bad for a small car. As for the driving experience, the EX30 is a fun and zippy car to drive. 422 horsepower and a 4,150 pound curb weight. That's good power to weight ratio. Anytime you have 100 horsepower per 1,000 pounds, you're going to have a very quick car. Again, 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds. That is blistering pace, and it's made possible because this is an electric vehicle. I don't want to discount the engineering complexity behind building an EV, but these quick times is a matter of packing in bigger electric motors and deciding how much battery mass you want to carry. It's almost like just a math problem. For example, a 10,000 pound Hummer EV pickup can go 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds because it has 2 electric motors packing a net 1,000 horsepower. So with this EX30, they've packed 2 electric motors that produces 422 net horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. And along with that, there's a 69 kilowatt-hour battery that's rated for 253 miles. These specs aren't very different compared to the Polestar 2 dual motor. That one makes 455 horsepower and 546 pound-feet of torque. It has a 78 kilowatt-hour battery and is rated for 247 miles and goes 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Driving experience between the two is kind of similar from a day-to-day operation perspective. Both offer very quick straight line performance, and they're both pretty fun to drive on curvy back roads. The EX30 has a pretty lively feel, and it has a shorter wheelbase, more compact stature, and less weight compared to the Polestar 2. It's better suited for what it's designed for, which is a more urban setting. Steering wheel is on the small side, and it's suited for how zippy this car feels. Driving mannerisms is good, and I like how it's not as heavy as other EVs with bigger batteries, and the one-pedal driving aspect is not as aggressive as other cars, which is a good thing. I think it feels more smooth and will probably not make your passengers as sick. The Volvo EX30 is a very nice driving electric vehicle. I love the small size and I love the amount of power. I don't like some of the minimalism, cost-cutting things about this car, like the window switches, the single screen, the lack of physical controls, even the key fob or the card. There's no functions on this thing. So if you want to lock or unlock your car from a distance, you have to use your app. Now, do you like the minimalist approach of the Volvo EX30? I want to hear your thoughts. And if you want to see my review of the Polestar 2, click on this link right over here. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way up to this point. My name is Hanson, and that has been the 2025 Volvo EX30, and I'll see you in the next one.